Hi friends, my name is Alyssa, and this is a yoga practice designed for concussions. It is an experiment with both up and down in the physical postures and how your nervous system reacts. So we will deliberately challenge the nervous system, and then we will down regulate using a handful of different techniques. Today's practice, it would be handy to have a chair, a blanket and a strap, a couple of cushions, and 2 blocks. And we'll get started in a seated shape. So you could sit on the chair, or you could sit on the floor, but we will be moving to the chair right after, so it might be easiest if you get settled in your chair. Find a sturdy stance on your chair. And by that I mean bring some space between your feet. Sit tall so that you're not relying on the back of the chair for support. Your hands can be anywhere that feels comfortable. Allow your body to fully arrive here. In all its imperfections and joys, in all of its facets. Imagine your feet rooting down into the earth. And let that rooting give you space in your spine so that you can reach the top of your head up towards the sky. Begin to turn your attention towards your breath, gently observing where you notice it in your body. Perhaps there's a soft micro breeze at your upper lip. Or maybe you feel your belly rise and fall. Keep tuning back into that place where the breath is most vivid. And then start to lengthen your exhale especially. Soft inhale through the nose. Longer exhale also through the nose. At the end of your next exhale, let a little bit of light back into your eyes in case they were closed. Check in with your feet. Make sure they're still nice and wide and that your knees are stacked over your ankles. Bring your hands onto your hip bones and find those bony protrusions at the front of your hips. If you're a little curvy and abundant bodied like me, you might want to dig around a little bit in the front of your hips to really locate those 2 landmarks. And then draw your attention into your tail. Lift your tail behind you. Your hip bones will rock forward. And then tuck your tail under, so reverse that movement. Let your hip bones move back in space as your tail moves forward. So you're really exaggerating this pelvic tilt back and forth a few times. See if you can keep your gaze forward so that you don't aggravate your symptoms too much. And then start to control the movement. Make it quite a bit more discreet, much more controlled and small. And it might help to bring your hands up to your ribs and notice if you're flaring your ribs out or moving them in any way. See if you can calm through your ribs. Still lifting the tail and tucking the tail. Next time your tail is lifted, let it stay there. Start to locate a target on the right side of your body. It could be a potted plant, the corner of a window, a light socket. Start to lean your face towards the target. Use your pelvis to get you there. Bring your weight into your feet, and then layer on with the arm that's closest to the target. Keep turning your face to the target. Reach past your fingertips like you're trying to grow your arm even longer. And to come up out of this shape, you're going to keep pointing and looking at the target with your arm. Press your feet down to draw your torso up. So use the power of your legs. Once you get all the way to vertical, then release your arm. Then return your gaze back to neutral. If that brought up any symptoms, take a minute, maybe close your eyes and allow everything to settle. When you feel ready to join us on the other side, locate a target on the left side of your body. Start to lean using your pelvis only to get you there. Lean, lean, lean to get your pelvis over your hip. Yeah. Find the end range of your lean here and then start to reach with your hand as well. Really gaze at the target. Reach your arm even longer. And to come up, press down through your feet. Use your legs. Keep pointing at the target. Keep looking at the target. Once you've come all the way back up to a nice tall spine, then release your arm and return your gaze back to neutral. Take a moment to breathe here. Notice if that made you feel dizzy or disoriented. Use soft inhales through your nose and long exhales through your nose to calm your nervous system and send the signal that everything is safe. You can pause the video here if you wish, or keep going. We're going to practice a mini flow from standing to kneeling. So to come up to a stand, walk your feet a little closer to the seat of your chair. Use the pressure of your feet and heels down into the earth to boost your hips up and come to a stand. Go ahead and move your chair off of the mat. One of the challenges living with post-concussion syndrome and managing symptoms is dealing with the changes in blood pressure that can result in dizziness or just feeling kind of woozy and fatigued. I'm going to show you a technique for coming from standing all the way down to a kneeling shape without overtaxing your vestibular system, ideally. And there's two different ways you can do it. One is with the chair and one is with the blocks. I'll show you first with the chair. And actually I'm going to bring the chair all the way onto the mat so that all four corners of the chair are rooted down. Standing with the seat of the chair facing your knees, initiate your sun salutation by reaching your thumbs nice and wide. Circle your arms all the way up. Maybe you look up only if you're not feeling challenged today. Hands come down through heart center. Soft bend in the knees here, and then bend your knees more and more and more till you can bring your hands down onto the seat of the chair. Your gaze is still up here. Pause. Take a moment to allow everything to settle in this midpoint. If you feel ready to go on, you're going to start to press your knees towards straight, maybe even look down at your hands. Pause here. If you're ready to move on, you can start to bend your elbows and come into a forward fold where your face comes closer to the seat of the chair. Support yourself with your hands and pause. To come down through kneeling, you're going to press your hands down into the chair just a little bit and then send one knee and then the other back into a supported table with your hands on the chair. Now to come to table or plank pose, you would pause and bring your hands down onto the mat and move your chair out of the way. So let's try that one more time with the blocks, and then we'll integrate it into a flow so you can see what it feels like. The blocks are lower right off the bat, so place them on their highest height in the corners of your mat. Start to reach your arms all the way up, circle them up, float your hands down to heart center, deeply bend your knees so you can sit your hips back into a chair pose shape. Pause here. Allow everything to settle. Check in with your symptoms. And then bring your hands or fingertips down to the blocks. See if you can keep your gaze forward and pause here. Use this as an opportunity to check back into your breath. Where does it feel most vibrant? Bring your palms down onto the blocks if they're not already, and then start to straighten your legs just a little bit. Maybe you look down if this feels good in your body and you want to keep going. You could bend your elbows, but take this step by step, checking in with your symptoms, noticing the blood flow to your brain, and come back out if it feels like it's too much. So come back or 2 steps or all the way. Send your attention right back to your breath. Beautiful. Yeah. So we're going to try and integrate that into a flow and see how this experiment feels in the body today. So check in with your symptoms, notice where they are at. Maybe you use a pain scale, or how many stars of a day is it? A 2-star day, a 5-star day. And we're going to experiment by incorporating that right into the flow. Soften into your knees, circle your arms up, sit your hips down as you draw your hands to heart center. And find this chair pose where you can take a breath. Hands come down to the blocks and take a breath. Keep looking forward. And then start to straighten your legs a little bit. Maybe you bend your elbows and come into a forward fold. Maybe you stay up here in a flat back, looking forward. At the end of your exhale, bring some weight into your hands and step one knee back and then the other. So you come into a supported table pose with your hands on the blocks. Pause here. And then walk the blocks off of your mat. Hands come down onto the ground. You're in table. So you have quite a few options from here. You could move into a plank shape if you wanted to push yourself a little bit. You could walk your knees back and lower yourself onto your belly and do some work on your belly or rest on your belly. But today we're going to swish our shins off to one side of the mat and then send your hips way back, kick your feet forward. So you're now in a seated shape. Walk yourself back onto your mat if you've migrated around. And then bring your hands behind you. Let your feet be nice and wide, so at least as wide as your mat. And start to windshield wiper your knees from side to side. So if your symptoms have crept up a little bit over this practice, that's a great thing to notice and to track. Let's see if we can now downregulate your nervous system a little bit. So as much as we've been controlling the breath and sending it in through our nose and out through our nose and trying to influence it, let that influence go. Just allow your breath to move in and out of your lungs the way it would if you weren't really paying attention to it. So it might become quite shallow. You might want to have a pillow handy or a strap or have the chair nearby. So before we fully rest into this supine shape, into lying down, let's get some props ready for the final resting shape. So I'm going to bring this chair close to me, off the mat but close. Grab pillows, cushions, and blanket. And have those at hand. And just like before, you're going to start to tuck your tail and come all the way back. Softly moving through your spine, one vertebrae at a time, and then walk your feet closer to your buttocks. Let everything settle. Let your hands find your hip bones and allow your tail to tuck under and then drive back in the opposite direction, down into the earth. Hip bones rock back and forth in response. Let this be nice and soft, no forcing. Maybe you close your eyes and go a little bit internal here. Maybe you even grab a pillow and place it between the back of your skull and the floor so that you don't have any sensitivity. This is a great opportunity to get our props set up before we come all the way down. So move your blocks out of the way. Get your chair set up beside your mat with the seat facing towards you and have your pillows and blanket and strap nearby. Then start to swish your knees off to one side. Send your hips back and kick your feet forward in front of you. You're going to walk yourself back down your mat a little bit here. Begin to bring your hands behind your knees. Tuck your tail under and use your hands like brakes to help yourself get all the way down to the floor. Once you arrive there, check in with your head. Would having a pillow under your neck and the back of your skull support you and reduce sensitivity? Adjust your clothing, wiggle around.